In this vast and restless world, there are souls that have been chosen for a path unseen by most. They do not seek recognition, nor do they yearn for the noise of applause. Instead, they are called to silence deeper than words can reach, silence that speaks louder than any sound. This is not the silence of fear, nor the quiet of surrender. It is the sacred silence of those who walk the spiritual path in search of true peace, hidden from the distractions of the world. To choose silence is to choose strength. It is to step away from the noise that clouds the mind and the illusions that blind the soul. While the world rushes forward in endless pursuit of validation, the chosen soul retreats not out of weakness but out of wisdom. They understand that true growth does not happen in the spotlight, but in the unseen, in the quiet spaces where the soul is refined, shaped, and made whole. There is a profound beauty in being unseen. The greatest transformations happen in the depths, like roots growing strong beneath the earth before a tree ever reaches the sky. The world may not understand why a chosen soul chooses solitude, but the soul knows. The journey is not meant for the eyes of others, it is meant for the deep communion between the self and the divine. The path of silence is not always easy. There will be moments of doubt when the noise of the world seems too loud, moments of loneliness when the heart longs for companionship, and moments of uncertainty when the road ahead feels unclear. But these are the very moments that forge resilience. Silence is not emptiness, it is a sacred space where the soul meets itself, where truth reveals itself, and where peace becomes a lived experience, not just a distant desire. Those who are called to silence are not escaping life, they are embracing it at its deepest level. They are listening to the whispers of the universe, the guidance that can only be heard when all other voices are hushed. In the stillness, they find clarity. In the quiet, they find strength. In the solitude, they find connection not with the world, but with the essence of existence itself. To walk this path requires trust. Trust in the unseen, in the unknown, in the unfolding of life's mysteries. The world may not validate this journey, but the soul does not need validation. It knows that silence is a gateway to something far greater than recognition or approval. It is a gateway to understanding, to wisdom, and to a peace that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. There is a power in choosing to remain hidden, in allowing one's soul to grow away from the distractions of the world. True transformation does not need an audience. The sun does not need to announce its rising, nor does the moon seek admiration for its glow. They simply exist in their fullness, fulfilling their purpose in quiet majesty. So too does the chosen soul, living, growing, transforming, and becoming all that it was meant to be, in silence and in grace. Embrace this path with courage. Do not fear being misunderstood, for not all are meant to understand. Do not fear being alone, for in this solitude, the greatest companionship is found with oneself, with truth, with the eternal presence that guides all things. Silence is not an absence, but a presence so profound that it shapes the soul from within. Let the world chase after noise. Let it run after distractions. You, chosen soul, have been called to something greater. You have been called to listen, to observe, to grow in the hidden places where real transformation occurs. Do not doubt the path you walk. Do not question the calling within you. It is not a mistake, it is a gift. One day, when the time is right, all that has been nurtured in silence will bloom. But even then, it will not be for the world's approval. It will be simply because it was meant to be. And in that moment, you will understand why you were called to walk this path of quiet strength, of sacred solitude, of deep and unwavering peace. Until then, embrace the silence. Let it teach you, let it heal you, let it guide you. For in the depths of this silence, you will find not only yourself but the infinite wisdom of existence itself. The path of silence is not for the faint of heart. It demands patience, resilience, and a willingness to surrender to the unknown. While the world measures success by visibility, the chosen soul knows that true fulfillment is not found in being seen, but in becoming whole. The soul that walks in silence does not seek recognition, because it understands that the most profound transformations happen where no eyes can see. In the depths of solitude, one learns to listen not to the noise of the world, but to the whispers of truth that can only be heard in stillness. This truth does not come in grand revelations or dramatic visions, it arrives like a gentle breeze, shaping the heart, refining the spirit, and dissolving illusions. It teaches that peace is not something to be found outside, but something to be uncovered within. The chosen soul learns that stillness is not emptiness, but fullness beyond measure. Many will not understand this journey. They will question why one chooses to retreat when the world calls for ambition, achievement, and external validation. They will mistake silence for weakness and solitude for sadness. But the chosen soul knows differently. It knows that stepping away is not an act of escape but an act of deep engagement with the essence of life. It is a conscious decision to move beyond the surface and into the depths where real meaning is found. The journey inward is not without challenges. The silence will bring forth everything that has been hidden: fears, doubts, old wounds, and unresolved emotions. There will be moments of discomfort when the weight of solitude feels overwhelming. But this is part of the purification, part of the process of becoming. The chosen soul does not run from these moments, it embraces them, knowing that healing comes not by avoiding pain, but by allowing it to be fully seen and transformed. To walk this path requires great trust in the unseen, in the divine, in the unfolding of a greater plan. It is a surrender to the rhythm of existence, an acceptance that not everything needs to be controlled or understood. The chosen soul learns to flow with life rather than resist it, to find peace in uncertainty, and to embrace the beauty of not knowing. And in this surrender, a new kind of strength is born. It is not the strength that fights or conquers, but the strength that endures, that remains unshaken in the face of change, that finds stability not in the world, but in the unchanging presence within. This is the strength of one who has learned to be still, to listen, and to trust in the wisdom of silence. With time, the chosen soul begins to see the world differently. The things that once seemed important, the pursuit of status, the need for approval, the race for more, lose their power. In their place, a deeper longing emerges, a longing for simplicity, for truth, for an existence aligned with the rhythms of the universe. The chosen soul no longer seeks to be filled by external things, for it has found a wellspring of peace within. This is not to say that the chosen soul withdraws completely from the world. It may walk among others, engage in daily life, and fulfill responsibilities, but it does so with a different awareness. It no longer seeks to impress or to prove itself. It no longer fights for a place in the world, because it has found its place in something far greater. It moves through life with quiet confidence, knowing that the true journey is not outward, but inward. There will be moments of doubt, moments when the silence feels too vast, when the longing for companionship or recognition arises again. But these moments, too, are part of the path. The chosen soul learns to sit with them, to observe them without attachment, knowing that they will pass like clouds in the sky. It understands that true peace is not the absence of longing, but the ability to rest in the present moment, no matter what arises. As the journey continues, a transformation takes place. The chosen soul becomes lighter, unburdened by the weight of unnecessary desires. It no longer clings to what must be let go, nor fears what is yet to come. It moves with grace, finding joy in the simplest things: a quiet morning, a passing breeze, the warmth of the sun. It no longer seeks meaning in grand achievements, but in the depth of each moment, in the silent connection with all that is. This is the gift of the silent path, the ability to be fully alive, fully present, fully at peace. The world may not understand this way of being, but it does not need to. The chosen soul does not walk this path for the world's approval, it walks because it has been called, because something deep within knows that this is the way home. And so, the chosen soul continues. Step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. It does not rush, nor does it resist. It trusts in the unfolding, in the divine timing of all things. It embraces the silence, knowing that within it lies the deepest truth, the purest love, the most profound peace. For those who walk this path, know this: you are not alone. Though the journey may feel solitary, there is an unseen presence that walks beside you, a quiet force that guides you even when you cannot see the way. The silence you embrace is not an emptiness, but a fullness beyond words. It is the space where your soul meets the eternal, where all questions dissolve, and where you find what you have been seeking all along. Embrace this journey with courage. Do not fear the silence, let it be your refuge, your teacher, your greatest gift. For in the depths of this silence, you will find everything you have ever needed, not outside, but within. The path of silence is a sacred one, a journey that unfolds beyond the understanding of the world. Those who walk it are not simply withdrawing from life, they are stepping deeper into its essence, listening to the whispers of existence that cannot be heard amidst the noise of society. To be chosen for this path is both a blessing and a challenge. It requires one to embrace solitude, not as a burden, but as a gateway to profound transformation. In silence, one meets oneself. This meeting is not always gentle, for silence has a way of revealing everything that has been buried: old wounds, unresolved fears, hidden desires. Without the distractions of the world, there is nowhere to hide from the truth of one's being. But this is where the real work begins. The chosen soul understands that healing is not found in escape, but in confrontation. It is in facing one's own shadows that the light is truly discovered. At first, the silence may feel overwhelming. The mind, so used to external noise, may resist. It may try to fill the quiet with restless thoughts, doubts, and questions. But with time, the chosen soul learns to surrender. It learns to sit in the stillness, to observe without judgment, to allow thoughts to rise and fall like waves upon the shore. And in this surrender, something miraculous happens. The mind begins to quiet, and in its place, a deeper voice emerges. This is the voice of the soul, the voice that has always been there, waiting to be heard. The chosen soul soon realizes that this silence is not empty, it is full of wisdom, of clarity, of a presence so vast that it cannot be named. It is in this silence that true guidance is found, not in the fleeting opinions of the world, but in the eternal truth that has always existed within. The soul no longer seeks answers outside, for it understands that everything it needs has already been given. The journey is no longer about seeking, but about remembering. But this path is not without trials. There will be moments of loneliness, moments when the pull of the world feels strong, moments when doubt creeps in like a shadow. The chosen soul may wonder if it has made the right choice, if it should return to the noise, to the life it once knew. But deep within, it knows the truth: there is no going back. Once the soul has tasted the depths of silence, the surface no longer satisfies. The world may offer distractions, but it can never offer the peace that is found in stillness. Over time, the chosen soul begins to notice a shift. The things that once seemed important lose their grip. The need for validation fades. The desire for more dissolves. In its place, a quiet contentment arises, a joy that is not dependent on circumstances, a peace that remains even in the face of uncertainty. This is the gift of silence, the ability to be at home within oneself, no matter where one stands in the world. And yet, the chosen soul does not reject life. It does not turn away from the world, but moves through it with a new awareness. It learns to engage without attachment, to give without expectation, to love without possession. It sees beyond appearances, beyond the illusions that once seemed so real. It no longer seeks to change the world, but simply to be a presence of peace, a silent reminder of what lies beyond the noise. There is great power in this way of being. The world may not recognize it, but those who are meant to see will see. A soul that has found peace radiates a light that cannot be hidden. It does not need to speak loudly, for its presence alone is enough. There is a quiet strength in the one who walks this path, a strength that does not seek to dominate, but simply to be a strength that cannot be shaken, for it is rooted in something beyond the temporary. To those who walk this path, know that you are not alone. Though the world may not understand, there are others who walk beside you in spirit, unseen but present. The silence you embrace is a bridge, connecting you to all who have walked before, to all who will walk after. You are part of something greater, something vast and eternal. Your journey is not in vain. Embrace the solitude. Let it refine you. Let it teach you. Let it strip away all that is not real, so that only truth remains. Do not fear the silence, for it is here that you will find yourself, not as the world sees you, but as you truly are. And in that knowing, you will find everything you have ever searched for, not in the noise, not in the world, but within the quiet depths of your own being. This is the path of the chosen soul. Walk it with courage. Walk it with trust. And above all, walk it with love. The chosen soul walks a path unseen, a path that requires courage, patience, and a willingness to embrace solitude. This is not the loneliness that the world fears, but a sacred solitude, one that nurtures, transforms, and reveals the deepest truths. It is a calling not meant for everyone, for not all are ready to meet themselves in such depth. But those who have been chosen cannot ignore the call. No matter how much the world tries to pull them back, they know, deep within, that their journey is inward. The strength in silence. Silence is not a void, it is a space of immense power. In silence, the soul speaks in ways that words cannot. It unveils hidden wounds, forgotten memories, and untapped wisdom. At first, this unveiling can be overwhelming. The mind, conditioned to seek external distractions, may resist. But the chosen soul understands that this resistance is part of the process. It is through surrendering to the silence that true transformation occurs. Many fear silence because it confronts them with what they have long avoided. The noise of the world provides an escape, a way to avoid the deep questions: who am I? What is my purpose? What lies beyond this life? But the chosen soul does not run from these questions. Instead, it sits with them, allowing them to unfold in their own time. It does not seek quick answers, for it knows that truth is not something to be grasped, but something to be realized. Letting go of the need to be seen. The world teaches that worth is measured by visibility, by how many people acknowledge you, by how much attention you receive. But the chosen soul learns that true worth has nothing to do with external validation. It is not found in recognition, in status, or in the approval of others. It is found in the quiet certainty of one's own being. To live a hidden life is not to live a lesser life. It is to live with depth, with intention, with an awareness that goes beyond surface-level existence. It is to cultivate an inner world so rich that external circumstances lose their power over you. The chosen soul does not need to be seen, for it understands that real growth happens in the unseen places, just as roots grow in the darkness before a tree reaches the sky. This does not mean withdrawing from life completely. The chosen soul may still interact with the world, still fulfill responsibilities, still engage in relationships. But it does so with a different awareness. It is no longer driven by the need to prove itself. It no longer seeks to be understood by those who cannot understand. It moves through life with a quiet confidence, knowing that its purpose is not to be admired, but to be true to itself, to its calling, to the path it has been given. The wisdom of patience. The path of silence is not rushed. Growth happens in its own time, just as the seasons change without force. The chosen soul learns the art of patience not as passive waiting, but as deep trust in the unfolding of life. It understands that everything has its perfect moment, that there is no need to force what is meant to come naturally. In a world that glorifies speed, this patience is a radical act. While others chase after fleeting success, the chosen soul remains steady, knowing that real transformation cannot be hurried. It trusts in the hidden work being done, in the quiet changes happening beneath the surface. And when the time is right, it will emerge not for the world's approval, but because it has become what it was always meant to be. Finding joy in simplicity. As the chosen soul walks further on this path, it begins to see beauty in the simplest things. It no longer needs grand achievements or extravagant experiences to feel fulfilled. A quiet morning, a passing breeze, the warmth of the sun, these small moments become profound. There is a joy that arises not from having more, but from needing less. This simplicity is not a loss, but a gain. It is the stripping away of all that is unnecessary, leaving only what truly matters. The chosen soul learns that happiness is not found in external things, but in a state of being. It does not depend on circumstances, on possessions, or on the opinions of others. It is a deep, unshakable peace that remains no matter what happens. Walking alone, yet never alone. There will be moments of solitude that feel heavy, moments when the path seems endless. The chosen soul may wonder if it is truly alone, if anyone else walks this road. But even in the deepest solitude, there is a presence, a quiet force that guides, supports, and whispers, "You are exactly where you need to be." This presence is not always visible, but it is always there. It is felt in moments of deep stillness, in the unspoken wisdom that arises in silence. It is the knowing that there is something greater at work, something beyond human understanding. And with this knowing, the chosen soul finds the strength to continue, even when the way forward is unclear. The return to the world. At some point, the chosen soul will be called to return, not in the sense of abandoning the path, but in integrating it into daily life. The silence it has embraced will become a part of how it moves through the world. It will carry the wisdom of stillness into every interaction, every decision, every moment. This return is not about seeking recognition or proving anything to others. It is simply a natural unfolding. The chosen soul does not need to announce its journey, for its presence alone will speak. It does not need to convince others of what it has found, for truth is not something to be argued, but something to be lived. And so, it moves through the world with a quiet grace. It does not seek to change others, but simply to be a presence of peace, a silent reminder of what is possible beyond the noise. The eternal journey. The path of the chosen soul is not one with a final destination. It is an eternal unfolding, a continuous deepening. There is no end to the journey, only a growing awareness, a widening of the heart, a deepening of peace. And so, the chosen soul walks on not in haste, not in fear, but with quiet certainty. It does not need to know every step ahead, for it trusts in the way unfolding. It does not need validation, for it has found something far greater. The stillness within, the truth that does not waver, the peace that cannot be taken away. For those who walk this path, know this: you are exactly where you need to be. The silence you embrace is not a void, but a fullness beyond words. You are not lost. You are being guided, even when the way is hidden. Trust in the silence. Trust in the unfolding. And most of all, trust in yourself. For you have been chosen for this journey, and it is leading you home. The path beyond silence. The journey of the chosen soul does not end with silence, it deepens into something even more profound. Silence is not a destination but a gateway, a passage into a life that is fully awake, fully present, fully alive. And yet, the more the chosen soul walks this path, the more it realizes that awakening is not about acquiring something new, but about shedding what was never real. It is a return, not to the world as it was, but to oneself as one has always been beneath the noise. To embrace this journey is to surrender completely. Not as the world understands surrender, not as defeat, not as resignation, but as the highest form of trust. It is to let go of the need to control, to predict, to hold on to what no longer serves. It is to stand in the flow of existence, neither resisting nor clinging, but simply allowing. The chosen soul begins to understand that silence itself is not an escape, but an integration. The deeper it goes into the quiet, the more it sees that silence is not separate from sound, solitude is not separate from connection, and stillness is not separate from movement. Everything is part of a greater rhythm, a dance of being where opposites dissolve into unity. The deepening of stillness. As the chosen soul surrenders more fully, stillness becomes more than an external practice, it becomes an inner state. It is no longer confined to moments of solitude but is carried everywhere, into conversation, into action, into the heart of daily life. No matter what happens externally, this stillness remains untouched, an anchor in the midst of all things. This stillness is not passivity. It does not mean withdrawing from life or becoming indifferent to the world. On the contrary, it allows for deeper engagement, for a more profound presence. The chosen soul learns to listen not just with the ears, but with the whole being. It sees beyond words, beyond appearances, beyond the surface of things. And in this seeing, there is understanding. The mind, once restless and full of questions, becomes quiet. Not because all questions have been answered, but because the need for answers dissolves. The chosen soul no longer seeks certainty in the way the world does. It no longer needs guarantees, assurances, or proof. It trusts in the unfolding, in the intelligence of life itself. The freedom of non-attachment. With this trust comes freedom. Not the freedom that the world speaks of, the freedom to do whatever one desires, but a deeper freedom, the freedom from desire itself. The chosen soul no longer needs life to go a certain way to be at peace. It no longer seeks fulfillment in things that are temporary. It moves through the world with an open hand, allowing all things to come and go without fear, without grasping. This is not detachment in the sense of avoidance or coldness. It is, in fact, the opposite. It is the ability to love fully, to experience deeply, without being bound. It is to give without expectation, to serve without seeking reward, to engage without losing oneself. It is to participate in life with a heart that is wide open, yet unattached. Non-attachment does not mean indifference, it means clarity. It means seeing things as they are, not as the mind wants them to be. It means loving purely, without ownership. It means allowing life to unfold as it will, without resistance. And in this, there is peace, not the fragile peace that depends on circumstances, but the unshakable peace that remains through all things. The presence of the unseen. As the chosen soul walks deeper into this freedom, it becomes more aware of something vast and unseen. It is not something that can be named, nor something that can be fully understood by the mind. But it is there, always there, a presence that moves through all things, that speaks not in words, but in the quiet moments between them. This presence is felt most deeply in silence, but it is not separate from the world. It is in the wind that moves through the trees, in the stillness of a quiet morning, in the rhythm of the breath, in the space between heartbeats. It is the thread that connects all things, the force that gives life to life itself. The chosen soul no longer searches for this presence outside. It knows that what it seeks is already here, already within. It was never lost, only forgotten. And now, in the depths of silence, it is remembered. Returning, yet never the same. At some point, the chosen soul is called to return not to the noise of the world, but to life itself, in all its forms. But this return is not a regression, it is a rebirth. The soul does not come back as it once was. It comes back transformed, seeing with new eyes, listening with new ears, moving with a new grace. It no longer fears the world, nor does it feel the need to escape from it. It walks among others, but it is not lost in them. It hears the noise, but it is not disturbed by it. It faces challenges, but it is not shaken. For now, the silence is within. The stillness is carried in the heart. The presence that was once sought in solitude is now found everywhere. And so, the chosen soul moves through life not separate from it, but fully immersed in it. It no longer seeks meaning in grand achievements or external validation. It finds meaning in the smallest of things, in the way sunlight filters through leaves, in the sound of laughter, in the kindness of a stranger. It does not need to change the world. It does not need to prove anything. It simply is, and in that being, there is a quiet power that touches all who come near. The eternal journey. The chosen soul knows that the journey never truly ends. There is no final destination, no point where all is complete. There is only deepening, unfolding, becoming. Each moment is a new beginning, each breath a new step on an infinite path. And yet, there is no need to reach. No need to hurry. No need to seek what is already here. For in the silence, everything is found. And in this knowing, there is peace. A peace that cannot be given, nor taken away. A peace that simply is.